For me, when it comes to winter, this is often how I feel. Wintertime can be tough on gardeners, but it also offers us great opportunity if we're willing to take advantage of it. Today, I'm going to talk to you about 7 ways you can be working on your garden in January, even if you can't work in it. Number 1, if you haven't yet, get a garden planner. Even if you're not a planner person, getting a garden planner can really help in the beginning processes of planning your garden, and it just does something for you mentally to be able to have that blank slate. Lots of ideas, lots of possibilities. With my garden planner, this is one that you can print out. You can find it on my shop. I like the fact that it is divided into 5 different sections. We've got planning, which is lots of brainstorming and when to plant and everything that you need to do in the planning process, layout, that kind of thing. The second section is a calendar. This is probably my most used part of the planner because after I plan my garden, I actually put every task in my garden for the entire year on the calendar, so I know exactly what I'm doing week by week. The third section is my grow log. This is how I'm going to document when I plant, what I grow, when germination happens, when harvest starts to happen. It has an indoor seed starting log, but also you can use it if you're planting directly in the garden. And then it also has a crop by crop log, so you can keep up with specific crops and the dates and how they perform and all of that. The fourth section is a week-by-week garden journal, and that has been a very big help for me because I started using that part of it last year, and it helped me in my planning this year. And then finally is the harvest and preserving log. This is where I was able to write down when I harvested, what I harvested, and then also how many jars I canned, how many bags I froze, dehydrated items, and all of that. That's why I call it a complete garden planner, because it goes from planning all the way through harvest. But there's just something about getting a new garden planner in your hands, whether it's mine or whether it's another one that you choose, that definitely can get you excited about the growing season. Number 2, on those cold, dreary days, for me it's usually rainy days, for your climate it may be snowy days, get in a comfortable chair and read some garden planning books. In this video that I did a few weeks ago, I shared with you some of my favorite garden planning books. Those will get you started, or whatever garden books you have on hand. This is a time to grow your knowledge. While you don't have to be in your garden doing all the tasks, you can learn so much about becoming a gardener. That's why that is number 2 on my list, especially for January. Number 3, as you are reading the garden books, as you're watching the YouTube videos, as you're listening to podcasts, brainstorm ideas for your garden and jot them down in your garden planner. Don't keep those ideas in your head because you may not return to them. Jot them all down. You can go through them later, decide what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, but just write them down so that you have them there for your garden planning. One thing that I like to do is fill out the harvest to table log in my complete garden planner, because if I know certain recipes that I'm going to want throughout the year, whether that's canning or fresh eating, then I know what crops that I want to grow for those recipes. Sometimes we think we're going to grow certain things in our gardens, but if we get a little bit more strategic and decide, okay, well, I really want sweet pickle relish, then in order to do that, I need to make sure and grow cucumbers and onions and peppers. So whatever recipe or recipes are important to you, that's something that you can start jotting down now. I also last year brainstormed with different crops like onions. I realized that there were so many different options of onions to choose from, and I decided that I would just list them all out, their days to maturity, whether they were intermediate day or short day, because I'm in the latitude where I can grow both, and their storage life. That was a big thing for me to test out this year. And sometimes when you're looking at lots of different varieties of lots of different plants, it's hard to keep them all straight. So this is a good time to just list them all out and have them at a glance so you can decide which ones you're actually going to select to grow. Another thing I did last year that was a huge help with my salad growing was listing out the different varieties of lettuce that I had on hand, or the ones that I was going to grow. Knowing that my goal last year was to have salads for as long as I could in my climate, I needed to recognize that certain lettuces and greens would be quicker growing and some would be a longer season crop. And by being able to see which ones I could expect to harvest earlier and which ones would be later, it enabled me to know how to plan on planting those different varieties. And I had salads as long as I could with lettuce And then of course I am able to have arugula all summer long. This video shows you how that I do that. But by strategically planning and seeing the days to maturity on these different lettuce and salad greens, that enabled me to more strategically plan for the planting of these crops. Of course, you can have lots of different brainstorming ideas. Maybe you're reading a book like Plant Partners and you're brainstorming different companion planting ideas or different trellis ideas that you're perusing on Pinterest. Whatever you're doing, dreaming of your garden, make sure and write them all down as you brainstorm for your garden. This is such a fun process. Don't skip it. It's the time where gardeners have hope for the future year. Number 4, this is a great time to organize and inventory any seeds that you have from years past. This is something that I do before I buy any seeds because I need to know exactly which seeds I have on hand so I don't purchase any seeds that I don't need. Also, by doing this, I realize, oh, I ran out of that seed and I didn't realize it. This has happened on occasion for me, and I realized I thought that I had the seed and I didn't. So organizing your seeds and then also inventorying them is a great thing that you can do in January. Number 5, decide on whether you're going to start seeds indoors. If you're a new gardener, you may think you have to start all of your seeds indoors, but you actually don't. A lot of the seeds can be directly sown in your garden. But there are some seeds that if you want to do indoor seed starting, they are perfect for a beginner. And if this is where you're at and you're not sure whether you want to indoor start seeds or not, and you're not really sure how to get started, then consider my course Before You Sow. It's a mini course. You can go through it very quickly, and I'll put a link in the show notes for that. It'll help you know what's best sown directly in the garden, what you need to start from seed indoors, and then if you're a new seed starter, how to know which ones to do that with. This is one of my most popular courses, my most affordable ones, and this is also a great thing to do as you're in January inside and you're doing all of your garden research. This will definitely help you out in knowing what you want to start from seed indoors. Number 6, if you decide you are going to start seeds indoors, then work on obtaining the necessary supplies that you need for that. You don't want to get to planting time and realize that you don't have everything you need. This is a good time to do that. There are lots of different things that you can purchase for indoor seed starting, but for me, I would recommend the absolute basics. Make sure you have these. Number 1, absolutely choose a grow light. To me, this is a non-negotiable. Don't rely on a sunny windowsill. 99% of the time, it just doesn't work. So choose a grow light. We will list in the description my Amazon favorites, and it shows the grow lights that I have used in the past. And trust me, having a good grow light makes all the difference. Another non-negotiable is a seed starting mix. Or I also use a potting mix sometimes for seed starting, and I just use a sifter to make sure that there's no major chunks in the seed starting mix. But if you're not growing a lot of seeds indoors, just buying a package of seed starting mix is perfectly fine. The main thing is you don't want to use your garden soil, you don't want to use bagged raised bed soil or any topsoil or anything like that. You definitely want a sterile seed starting mix for starting seeds indoors. And then of course you've got your seed starting containers. My favorite to use these days are the Epic cell trays from Epic Gardening. We'll put a link to that in the description. But you can also use things that you already have, such as solo cups or small plastic trays that maybe you bought transplants in the year before. There are lots of different ideas online of what you can start seeds in. Just make sure that your seeds have plenty of room to root. I know a lot of times you see pictures of starting seeds in eggshells or egg carton containers, and while the seeds will germinate in that, be prepared to transplant them into something bigger. They're not going to stay like that for the length of the time that they're indoors. That's why I like just skipping all of those things and going straight to something that you know is reliable, like the Epic cell trays or even some of the plastic cell packs that you can get at your local garden center. Number 7, whether you're starting seeds indoors or whether you're going to plant them directly in the garden, get an idea where you want to buy your seeds if you haven't bought your seeds already. The last 2 videos I did here talked about where to buy seeds and also budget-friendly ways to seed shop. If you haven't yet, you don't have the seed catalogs of some of the seed sources that you're going to use, a lot of times you can just go on their website and request a free catalog. Of course, these days you can do your shopping online too if you prefer to do that, but it'd be a great idea to go ahead and get an idea where you're going to buy, and you can even start placing your seed orders. I recommend that you get your garden planned out before you start ordering seeds. That way you know exactly what you're going to plant and what you're going to grow. But To each his own, and if you just want to start ordering what you see from the seed catalog. The point is you want to have your seeds ready to go when it's time to plant. This was a list today of what you can do inside on your garden when you can't be outside in your garden on those cold winter days. But if you listen to episode number 278 of the Beginner's Garden podcast, I also talk about some things that you can actually be doing in your garden if you happen to get a warm sunny day and you need to get outside. There are still some things that you can do in your garden as well. And of course, depending on where you're located, and for me in Arkansas, I do start planting some of my seeds at the end of January. I share more about that for my Patreon community in my January in my garden bonus podcast. If you're interested in joining that community for bonus podcasts like that, bonus videos, monthly Q&As, and more, check out the link in the description. My hope is that this winter, instead of feeling like this, you will be able to get excited for the garden season ahead, and these 7 tips will help you do that. Be sure and like and subscribe for more videos like this one, especially as we start planning and growing out the garden in 2023. Thanks for watching.